thank you for tuning in. Every Friday, we have what we call Mind Shift Friday, and we look at different topics, but from a slightly different perspective to get a different angle, a different perspective, a different understanding to probably some of the things we've believed, or some of the things we've had, or some of the concepts we keep hearing over and over again. We try and ask ourselves, is there another way to look at this whole thing? Today, we are talking about deathbed regrets. Oh my goodness. These are the things people regret when they come to the realization that their life is about to come to an end. You know, and you're looking at your life and you regret certain things. And, you know, studies have been done about this, and there are some key things that keep coming up, usually that people regret on their deathbed. And because they're so common, we want to look at them and ask ourselves, what can we learn from this, and how can we ensure that when our time comes, we don't look back and have the same regrets? I have two amazing gentlemen who are joining me in studio this morning. We have life coach, inspirational speaker, author, and family therapist, Mumbi Mbogwa. How are you doing, sir?
Very well, thank you. First, I'm very glad to be here.
Karibu sana. It's been a while since I hosted you. I'm excited.
Indeed, it's been a while. I'm also glad I'm here. You forgot about me, but I've not been on any deathbed.
Well, here we are. Karibu sana, karibu sana. Also joining us in studio via Zoom, we have advocate of the High Court and also mediation trainer, James Mangerere. How are you doing, sir?
And thank you, sir.
Karibu sana.
Happy to be here.
I like your name.
Yes.
I was thinking about this subject today, and I want to begin by a scripture, because there's this scripture in the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 4, and I'll read verse 6 and verse 7. This is Paul talking to Timothy, and he says, "For I am already being poured out like a drink offering, and the time for my departure is near. I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race, I have kept the faith. Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day." I'm just wondering, I'll begin with you, my namesake, James. Is it possible for us to live this kind of life where when we come to that point where we know we are about to die, we can look back and, like Paul, we can say, I have run the race, I have finished the course, no regrets, I'm ready to go? Is it possible? James.
Yes. Thank you very much. You know, people don't like talking about death because I believe nobody wants to die. And if anybody was told today that you are living, I don't know what you'll be thinking about. If you are able to run, you can run the fastest you can go. So the most important thing for us is to live a purposeful life. If with a clear purpose and live with the right priorities. Because most people, we struggle so much for things that we can't carry away, to an extent that sometimes we die while struggling. I've seen, especially in our continent, in Africa, where people are really, they work so hard. And then when they are almost dying, they have nothing to show for it. Even regret why they did that. Some of them are working for their children, for their spouses. And eventually when they are going, there's nothing good there. You can clearly see in the eyes of their spouses and children that there's something that they did not provide. So I think we miss our priorities. And I have seen people who travel, especially some people from foreigners coming into a country with bags on their back. They go to Mombasa and they relax. And we wonder what a waste of time. You know, they should be doing something. Why are they relaxing at the beach? In the really sense, the fact is, I think they know how to enjoy their lives. Because I've seen people with millions of shillings, huge buildings, and yet they can't dress properly, they can't eat properly, they are ailing, and they die very frustrated people with all the money that the world can offer them. So it's important for us to have a clear purpose and also have clear priorities in life so we don't regret.
Okay. Mumbi, I'm just wondering, could it be then a good number of us don't really understand what the meaning of life is?
Oh, thank you, Pastor James. And I thank Mr. Mangerore for his insight. I think that is the biggest challenge in the book of Proverbs 19, verse 21, it says that many are our plans. You know, we plan a lot of things,
Yes.
we have a lot of tribulations. But it's only the Lord's purpose that will give us establishment. I think the biggest challenge that we have in our life is really understanding our God's purpose, the reason for which we were created. And I think the reason we have a lot of regrets near our death today is because we feel that we didn't fulfill this purpose at all.
Yeah.
Because where purpose is not known, abuse then is inevitable. There's a guy called Mark Twain. He was an American teacher and author. And he said that from today, 5 years later, 10 years later, maybe 20 years later, you'll be more disappointed or regretful about the things you didn't do, yet you knew clearly you had the power and the ability to do them, than the things you did. And I think actually, James, initially when you invited me to be in this program, I was a bit lukewarm and I was wondering, why should I come and speak about an experience I have not had? But when I became open-minded and I started research, I realized it's a very well thought out program. It is the issue of purpose. It is the issue of purpose. Because if we don't live our purpose, you know, it's like a car. You buy a car from the showroom. And when you buy this car does not serve you adequately. It's always at the garage, always giving you problems. And at one point, you had probably to desert it. It is the same thing about us and our God. We were created for a very specific and unique purpose. And if we don't live this purpose, certainly, and there is always some intuition in us that tells us, this is not your best. You have more energy, you have more power, you have more capacity. Redirect yourself. You're not on the right path. But more often, unfortunately, we do not heed to this call. And I think most of the time, this call is from God telling us, I didn't create you only for this. You didn't come this far to only come this far. I think the issue of purpose is very paramount, Pastor.
Okay. Back to you, James. You know, I was looking at, the top 5 common regrets that people have on their deathbed. And one of them is people say, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself and not a life that others were expecting of me. So living to please others. And I'm trying to connect that with purpose. Would you say that is something that many of us try to do? Living to please others, living to show off and, to impress other people. And then at the end of the day, we end up regretting. And if that is the case, how do we break away from that?
Exactly. I have seen people who move into estates where the rest of the people are. They buy cars just to match everybody else in a specific estate. They take their children to schools that they can rarely afford. They want to wear the latest, their wardrobes have to be the latest clothing and everything, just to look like the rest of people are. And you find that most of these people live on loans and some mortgages, and they are under very serious stress. We know that most of the diseases that we have are known as they are psychogenic. They are psychogenic in nature. They are caused by stress. And sometimes we subject ourselves to unnecessary stress. There's a number of questions which probably we need to ask ourselves as we live along this life. We are not saying we have arrived. All of us are struggling and we don't know what will happen tomorrow. But it's good to be able to guide people with the little knowledge that we have. One, you should ask yourself, what are my goals in life? You should know that. And have I been able to reach them yet? Then you should need to ask yourself, how valuable is my life? Am I really loved by someone?
Wow.
Is life making sense anymore? Does my life really matter? How will my future look like? What will happen after my death? You see, once you ask yourself and answer those questions, you may find that you start getting direction to where you are going. Otherwise, life and material things and money, what we're really chasing and trying to keep the standards of others, you find eventually that it's vanity. I have realized myself as an example. There's a time I was in the hospital and I was almost gone. So I was asking myself a question. Now I've been struggling all this time, at least to keep myself at a particular place in the eyes of the community.
Yes.
Of what help was it? Now I'm here alone, struggling. I'm going, nobody knows about me. Probably what people will do is just to come with a few flowers, throw them on my grave and walk away.
Yes.
Why was all this struggle about? So some of these things are things we need to ask ourselves and try to ask the 5 questions that I've asked you and answer them. Probably we may find direction and we may find the correct purpose in life and what our priorities are.
I'm just
That's
curious.
what I can tell you.
I'm just curious, James, once you came to that realization when you were in hospital and, just fighting for your life, after you got better and you got out of hospital, what are some of the changes you made in your life?
Well, something funny with human beings, once you are through with that experience,
yes,
you almost forget what you have gone through almost immediately, because you realize that, I've gone through this, maybe next time. But let me tell you what really happens is that I learned a few lessons. I learned that I needed time to stay with my family because they really mattered. At the time when I was unwell, they were the people who were very close to me. I realized that I needed time off, even to watch a nice movie.
Yes.
I needed to be more religious. I needed to go to church and have a connection with God.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, the only person who was in the room when I was alone was God.
Yes.
So that's what I discovered.
Wow. Wow. Those are good lessons right there. Still on the whole thing of living to please others and purpose, Bwana Mumbi, I look at life today and we have a lot of cases of depression. People sinking into depression, mental health issues. Would you say there's a connection between that and the fact that we keep trying to please the Joneses and we keep trying to compete and be better than so and so and so and so, and not just being true to how God has created us and the purpose He created us for?
A very good question, and I also love the experience from Mr. Mangera. Very interesting that sometimes when you're out of the challenge, we forget about what you need to do. That's a very good question. As a life coach, we have come to realize that the vast majority of us are living a lie.
Oh.
We are living a lie, and I can say that a million times. Because, my brother, we are trying to live our education. We're trying to live our profession, our career, our title, our rank, our authority. We're even trying to live religion. We're trying to live our parents, our spouses, our partners, and so on and so forth. Our politics, our seniors, and our bosses. We have been born in a world that is very conformed.
Yeah.
Very, very conformed. And the book of Romans warns us against conformity, Romans 12, verse 2. So as soon as we were born, the world has been trying to fit us into the pipeline of their own intellectual or political or economic power. And as a result, we lost an opportunity to discover ourselves from a divine or spiritual perspective.
Okay.
Because we are not physical beings. We are spiritual beings housed in a physical body. And that is why, unfortunately, the biggest challenge we have is to try and understand or connect ourselves to God. Because we live in a physical world.
Yes.
So we are living what our teacher told us, sometimes our pastor, our religious mentor, and so on and so forth. Such that the opportunity for self-awareness from a spiritual perspective has been lost. Because let me give a very simple example. You take a grain of maize, a pastor, you connect it with the earth, the right environment. And the moment you connect it, you can go to sleep. Because it's been connected to its purpose and destiny, to its God, because biblically the vegetation was created from the earth, it will naturally grow to its purpose.
Yeah.
The biggest challenge we have, in my understanding, and I could be wrong, is that we have not been connected to our source, which is God. And I say this very humbly. We have been connected to our degrees. We've been connected to our careers.
Yes.
We've been connected to religion. at the expense of being connected to God. As a result, our life is a misery. As a result, we don't know we have the capacity to meet all the life challenges.
Yes.
We look for solutions in education. We look for solutions in money.
Yeah.
We look for solutions in politics. And therefore, because these do not provide the real solutions, our life can only be stressful. It can only be depressed. We can only have cases of suicide and murders and homicides. What is the challenge? Really understanding our purpose and how we can connect ourselves to the source, which is God, because God provides all the nutrients that we need for our life to live our purpose, just like the earth provides the nutrients for the crops.
I like that. I like that. Okay, shortly we'll talk about happiness, because one of the other things, James, that came up, top 5 regrets people have on their deathbed is the issue of happiness. I wish I had allowed myself to be happier. And I find that interesting because many people, if not all of us, are pursuing happiness and chasing after happiness. You know, whether it's in a relationship or in a thing or in a title or in a status, we are all looking at happiness. I hear cases of people divorcing. Why? Because it doesn't make me happy anymore. And I'm just wondering, this happiness, Maneno, is it a fallacy? Because we are chasing it and we are not finding it. Does it even exist in the first place? So James will talk about that shortly. It's 19 minutes after 7. It is Mindshift Friday. We are talking about deathbed regrets. If you have any questions for us today, 20316 SMS line, WhatsApp number 0786 316 316. We are looking at some of the common regrets people have when they come to the realization that they are about to die, and they look back at their lives and they wish they had done this and they wish they had done this. You know, some of the 5 common ones is, I wish I had allowed myself to be happier. I wish I had not worked so hard. To all the workaholics out there, listen to that one. Number 3 is, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself and not a life trying to please others. Number 4 is, I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. And then the 5th one is, I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. Ooh, that one is an interesting one as well. And so this morning in studio, I'm hanging out with life coach, inspirational speaker, author, and family therapist Mumbi Mbogwa, and also advocate of the High Court and mediation trainer James Mangerere. If you have any questions for us, once again, 20316 SMS line, WhatsApp number 0786 316 316. James, back to you. This one that says, I wish I had allowed myself to be happier. I find that to be interesting because we are always chasing after happiness. You know, how comes then it's something that a lot of people regret? You know, they did not allow themselves to be happier. Hii mambo ya happiness, is it a fallacy? Ama hatujaielewa?
I watched there's a video that was making round in social media.
Yes.
Where somebody was asking themselves the following questions. I wanted to go to a good school, so I worked hard and got into a good school. I wanted to go to the university and do a degree in medicine, so I worked very hard and I got the required marks. I got that degree. I wanted to marry a nice lady as my wife. I really worked very hard and I got a nice lady. I wanted children and I got 2 children.
Yes.
We worked very hard with my wife and we got 2 children. Then I wanted a nice car. I worked very hard. I bought a nice car.
Yeah.
I wanted a nice house. I worked very hard. I got a nice house. But at the end of it all, I still felt empty.
Wow.
So I found an old man somewhere who I asked, what is really happiness? What's happiness all about? And he told me, everything on earth is vanity, because when you die, you pick nothing.
Yes.
So happiness is finding Jesus.
Wow.
And when I found Jesus, I was fulfilled. That was very interesting as far as I am concerned. You know, I train people in peacemaking.
Yeah.
Myself, I'm a mediator. I've been helping people resolve disputes for almost 25 years now. I've done local and international disputes. What I find very interesting is that when you have peace, everything falls into place.
Wow.
And that peace we are talking about probably comes from getting connected to some deity somewhere. So being religious and creating peace between yourself. Now, peace itself, most of the diseases that we have, diseases like stomach ulcers, diabetes, high blood pressure, they all come as a result of mismanaged or ignored conflict. When we mismanage and ignore conflict, we get stress. When we get stress, we get sick.
Yes.
So most of the people who have really stayed long and who enjoyed happy lives are those people who know how to find peace. We call them people who are conflict competent. People who respond to conflicts constructively. You know, when you respond to conflict constructively, it means you don't react to conflict blindly. Because you are not going to have peace with your family members if every time you have a conflict, your response is blind. You respond with impulse. You're not going to have conflict at your workplace if you are conflict incompetent. So one thing you need to know is how to create peace. Peace with yourself and peace with others. And realizing that being connected to God is the beginning of the happiness that you are looking for.
Wow.
There's nothing else anyway. You can have everything you have, as much money as you want, all the properties in the world. And I've realized people who are billionaires are not happy. You have seen recently one of the billionaires divorcing at a very old age, and he has all the money he has in the world.
Very true.
So happiness is a conundrum. You need to really know that it already emanates from having a peaceful life around you and having some very unique fulfillment, which is not found in the material things that we see.
I love that. You know, the other day I was attending a funeral, and the pastor was speaking, and he said how one time this very wealthy woman who was a member of the church came to see him in the office, you know, and he was saying, Pastor, I need your help. You know, I mean, you know us. Money is not an issue to us. In fact, I'm driving a brand new Mercedes. My husband is driving a brand new BMW. We've just completed our house. I mean, things are good, but we have no peace. And she was saying, I would give everything I have if I could get peace in return. And I thought, wow, isn't that the truth? And how we chase after material things. I'm just wondering, Mr. Mbogwa, where does priorities fit into this whole discussion? I can see you having a bit of challenges with the camera. Hiyo ni mambo ya Zoom, tumeizoea.
Yes, I'm trying to... Sorry, there's a small challenge. I'm trying to adjust it. To ensure that I'm visible. You could kind of repeat the question if you don't mind.
Yes, I'm just wondering about priorities. Where does the issue of priority fit into this conversation?
That's a good question. I hope I'm visible. And I'm audible.
You're audible.
I know there's a small challenge I'm having.
It's okay.
You see, we can't speak about priority if you do not understand the purpose.
Okay.
Priority must be driven or motivated by an understanding of what you need to achieve and who you need to become. They said that if you don't know where you are going, you can't get lost.
Very
so
true.
For lack of an understanding of what life is, for lack of an understanding of why God created us, because we must start with the why, then you can't prioritize. You can't set up goals if you don't know what you want to achieve.
Yes.
You can't set up goals if you don't know that you have the ability and the capacity to achieve them. So I think the starting point as far as priority is concerned is, what is your why? Because it is said that the stronger the why of doing something, the easier the how. If I would try to attempt to answer the question of priority, then I would probably start by saying this. I think the primary and the fundamental reason that God created us is service to mankind.
Okay.
Because service to mankind is service to God, because he is the creator and the owner of mankind. Which then means if I understand my purpose in this world to be service to mankind, then I'll be asking myself very fundamental questions in terms of how do I become the best servant that will fulfill God's purpose? What do I need to do to ensure that every day I am in a passionate, committed, inspired service to mankind? What is it that I need to do to ensure that I am in tune with God's purpose in my life? Because once I understand that, and I would say very humbly to myself, this is something I've been studying over the last 12 years.
Okay.
And I've come to realize that the reason we are having all these challenges is because we are looking, number one, we do not understand what happiness is or what brings happiness. And therefore, we are looking for the living amongst the dead.
Oh.
We are looking for happiness from our material well-being, from the money and the cars and the authority and the positions and the ranks.
Yeah.
And I appreciate Mr. Mangera, who has told us this will not give us security, happiness, and fulfillment.
Yes.
Happiness must come from somebody who is connected to a passion and a purpose that is aimed at fulfilling God's reason for his creation. And in my understanding, and I'm still learning, in my understanding, the one reason that God created us is to serve. And if it is human beings who need to serve God, it then means I then understand clearly my greatest wealth in this world is my family. Charity begins at home. If I will want to surrender myself in selfless service to God, I must start with my family. I must start with my nuclear family. I must start with my spouse. I must start with my siblings. I think then, having that understanding, I will prioritize. That will not purport to go to speak to a crowd at KICC if my family is not at peace, if I'm not connected. I will not purport to be a church minister or a motivational speaker or a leader for that matter if the same is not fully manifested in my family. I believe the greatest wealth must start at home. Charity begins at home. I am convinced the most important church, the greatest church on earth, the greatest religion on earth is the family.
Wow, I like that. And I love you've brought in the whole aspect of family. You know, James, I'm just thinking, one of the regrets people gave is I wish I'd stayed in touch with my friends. I wish I had spent more time with my family. And in today's world, you know, even as both of you have shared, people are putting a lot of emphasis on things. I have seen people who, you know, tear apart relationships for the sake of things. I've seen people who, especially men, sometimes in the quest of trying to give the world to your family, you end up giving them things, but you do not give yourself to them. You're hardly there. You become a stranger in your own home. So maybe you can talk to us a bit about the importance of relationships, family relationships, and even friends, you know, people you do life with. How important is that?
You know, at the end of the day, when you are dying, the people who will be surrounding your bed are members of your family.
Yeah.
That is something I've seen very many times when especially people are called to hospitals or to centers where people are up and their deathbeds. People who surround you are members of your family.
Yes.
The problem we have is the issue to do with communication in the family.
Okay.
Communication is a serious challenge. You know, for example, when I teach people on how to do good communication, for example, I can give you a simple example. If you are supposed to eat at 8 p.m., for example, every day, and your family knows that you can't go beyond 8 p.m. Because of your medical condition, and then you come one day, you find that food has not been cooked, or they're in the process of cooking, and it's past 8 p.m. The way you approach that will determine how you will sleep that day, whether you sleep with regrets or you sleep happily. Now, these are the two examples I can tell you about the ways we preach peace. You will start by asking, if you were conflict incompetent and the source of conflict, you just start by complaining, by saying, you guys are choking.
Yes.
You don't know that there are very many hotels. There are so many hotels around here which cook better food than you. So you are scared. You are trying to threaten me that I cannot eat at the time when I'm supposed to.
Yes.
And you see, you've already started a conflict. Now, the flip side of all that is, if you are a person who is conflict competent, this is what you could do. You would tell them, just using three words, and I want our viewers and our listeners to take these words home today, to be able to create peace and live in peace with their families. One, you start with, I am concerned that I may not be able to eat at 8 p.m. today. I have noticed that this is the moment when you are cooking. I would like us to find a way that this food can be cooked early, so that I can be able to keep to my medical advice. You see, that you have delivered your message without offending anybody by using only 3 terminologies.
Yes.
I'm concerned, I have noticed, I would like us to find a solution to that.
Yes.
It's not too much to ask, but that can create an environment where people will get the message, but they will not be provoked into getting into what we call a retaliatory cycle, where you start fights. When you have fights, you lose your peace. So there are 3 things that you need to know. One, it's important as a person to bring love back into your family.
Yes.
If you want to live longer, live a happy life through the way you communicate. Now, it's also important to restore somebody who's hurting. Sometimes you may come home and see people smiling when they are really hurting internally. Reading body language and understanding how to deal with people who are hurting and being kind in the way you communicate will restore the kind of peace that you need to enable you live a purposeful life, as Buwa has just said. And then the other thing is to bring Jesus into your house. I'm telling people about God, because there are people who we call atheists. They don't believe in God, but they are living in turmoil. So sometimes getting connected to God, making people know God, first of all, yourself knowing God, and then making people know God, as some kind of unique fulfillment that most people may not know exists. I think that's how then you can live that purposeful and peaceful life, and they create a connection with your family. Then you can live longer. I've seen people live up to 110 years because they know how to handle conflict and they know how to communicate with their family members.
Wow. I have a message here from Mercy. Mercy says, thank you for this discussion. James is a very good teacher. He taught me mediation. I really think it's God's direction on conflict resolution because its purpose is restoring relationships. Mercy is suggesting I should bring you back one of these days to talk about mediation. We'll probably do that. Asante sana, Mercy. Dave in Lower Kabete, you say, I had the opportunity to work in DR Congo and Yemen, war-torn countries, and in my view, their people, despite life disruptions, are a lot happier than us Kenyans. I would conclude we Kenyans don't know how to be content and how to be truly happy. Thank you for that. Before we run out of time, maybe Mumbi, you can mention something on this. It's connected to, spending more time with family and friends. One top regret also is people who say, I wish I had not worked so hard. I've seen people who work so hard, to acquire a lot of things that they even don't end up enjoying because they are always working and working and working hard. They don't have time for anything else. What can you say about working hard? Because we are told to work hard. So how do we balance?
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor, and very great insights there from Mr. Mangarore. I really appreciate. And earlier you had asked the question on the priority. Allow me to mention about 3 or 4 things that I personally feel are the greatest opportunities or resources or assets in helping us achieve our God's purpose, in helping us minimize or probably bring to nil the regrets that we're talking about today. I think to me the number one most important thing is to understand how we can connect ourselves to God, God being the source of all the success and everything that we're looking into in this world. To me, that is very fundamental. Like you plant seeds on the earth, I said earlier. How do we plant ourselves to God? Because when we remain connected then there is a constant, unlimited, and unending supply of goodness or life.
Okay.
Number two, the second most important opportunity, if you ask me, is me and life. And it's about self-awareness. It's about understanding myself. James, you may agree with me that we have a lot of people today who are passionately investing in self-destruction. And therefore, we have destroyed families, destroyed careers, destroyed purposes, destroyed leadership, destroyed work, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
If people were to invest in getting to understand who they are, self-awareness, and getting to understand why I am a husband, why I am a father, why I am a leader, why I am this and that, that will help us minimize these regrets. Then the third one, which is very important, and it is directly about relationship, is dealing with people. I've heard the Swahili people say, watu ndio mali. Even where I come from, we say the same thing. Everything you will need in this world, everything that you own up to this moment came from people.
Yeah.
The car you drive, the clothes you put on, your wife, your spouse, money, everything that you own came from people. And everything that you desire to own in the future will come from people. So it is good to work hard, but I think the biggest challenge we have is not that we are not working hard or we are working hard. It is the balance.
Okay.
Just like you cannot just live on vitamins only to make your health whole. You can't live on vitamins because you love what? You have to have a balanced diet. Life is similarly the same. And most unfortunately, we are spending most time where it ought not to be. Time, especially in terms of not quantity but value. Value time ought to be spent and prioritized with our family.
Yes.
Because in fact, the only thing that God will personally audit in our life is our family. Not our farm, not our company, not our home. It is our family. So I think, yes, we need to work hard because God has given us the energy. But we need to have the balance. Balance in terms of, there's something called the life wheel. Probably is something we'll discuss later in one of the programs. Life wheel. That how much time are you giving to your family, to your spirituality, to your career, and so on and so forth, so that you do not neglect one at the expense of the other, and especially the ones that are most important.
Okay.
Yes, I think it is an issue of balancing our life.
Great, great. Gentlemen, unfortunately, my time for this morning is up. I was just wondering, where did the time go? Time goes so fast when you're having fun, but some great feedback.
Regrets again.
Yes. Time has gone, so gentlemen, thank you so much for availing yourselves this morning. Some great feedback. People have really enjoyed the conversation, and so we say thank you. And Bwana Mangerere, one of these days we'll have you back. We talk about the issue of mediation because I think it's a very, very important discussion. So asanteni sana.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day. God bless.
Awesome. Well, we are done for that.
This and more of our shows, log on to www.familymediaonline.com to a wide variety of programs from current affairs to testimonials and features, pastoral and inspirational shows, kids entertainment, and so much more. Also stream live on www.familymedia.tv.